Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to the Bad League Bad Pods Podcast Afternoon Edition. I am Zach Fuller here with my lovely co-host Ben Dunn. And how are you on this Wednesday afternoon?
I am well, yeah. Another late night edition. Sometimes work gets in the way. How was the flight?
It was good, actually. This was the first flight that I have gotten to do where I actually get to fly through clouds.
Oh,
Yeah,
turbulence.
A little bit of turbulence, yeah. The turbulence on a hot day is actually a little bit worse. But it worked out perfect today because the clouds were at 6,000 feet, so you can be in the clouds at 6,000 feet, and then you have like 5,500 feet to see where you need to go if something does go wrong, like you lose the engine or something, which is not super common. But
Yeah.
it's good when the clouds are at like 6,000 because then you can fly directly through them. And yeah, it was actually a really fun flight. How was your day at work?
It was good. Just another day at the office, getting ready for some big things at work. So somewhat busy, but it was good. But somewhat good spirits after last night. So
Yeah.
let's get into how everything went at Atlanta last night. We'll start off with yourself there.
Yeah, my
It was interesting, huh?
Yeah,
it was a hell of a night.
Yeah, so obviously we had during practice I kept saying like I don't know how this is gonna go for me because I felt like I never really felt fast. It was the first time in a while in one of these races in practice where I just feel kind of lost with how to drive for the short run and the long run. So didn't have a lot of confidence going into it, and then we got the caution on like lap 20 or so. And a group of us stayed out. I actually went down pit lane. I was going to get tires, and then I saw some of those guys, Drucker and Owen Mays, staying out, not getting tires. And so I'm like, well, I'm probably going to stick to their strategy. So I just got fuel and thinking that we were going to get more cautions, and we didn't until I was the caution later in the race. So
much later, too.
Yeah.
What a long run that was.
Yeah, it was. And it was I felt so bad for being the one to ruin that because, yeah, I mean, I've been hit by that kind of incident so many times when I have a good race going, and it definitely sucks to be the one that brings out the caution. And it was completely my fault. Like Judd was going around me on the outside. Luckily, I didn't, impact his race as well.
I went back and watched it.
Yeah, just my
innocent
tires.
little contact.
Yeah, my tires were dead, and then I got loose, and then tried
There's
to save it and
it.
just overreacted. I had a few saves on incidents like that during the race. And this one I just couldn't get it going, and then I made the call out that I was spinning, and then about 10 minutes later Aaron threw the caution, so I was already a lap down at that point. But then there was a quick caution after, so I got the lucky dog, and then through all that somehow undeservingly came back to finish 6th. So
not bad.
Yeah, I'll take the result, but it was not a super fun race for me. Just never felt like we had the speed, and yeah, definitely did not do anywhere near a good job on managing tires. So I'll have to go back and kind of take a look at what I can do differently when there's a setup like that. But how was your race? I think yours was a lot more positive.
Well, yeah, it was. It was until it wasn't.
Right.
I got a good look at your spin because I went back to look because I was like, was it actually caution worthy? Because I was
Yeah,
big,
right.
I was a big person who lost out because of that.
Yeah.
On that long run, it was I had a great race. I felt like I had a lot of speed. I love that track so much, and I don't particularly mind super tight setups. I kind of just adjusted. I was lifting incredibly early and really just doing everything I could, on the longer runs to stay on that white line and save my tires. So that was a big thing for me that was huge, that I felt like I was doing better than a lot of people. I also felt like I could get up in the high side, high line better than a lot of people and get around the track. So I was able to kind of do some cool stuff with that where I'd be behind someone on the tire saving on the inside. And then when it was time where I'm like, all right, this person's saving more than me, or I think I got a little more speed than this person,
Mm-hmm.
I would simply just take 1 and 2 on the high side and just about make the pass happen every single time. So that felt good to be able to do that and to have that kind of speed there. It's such a tough track. For some reason, I kind of like these rugged, tough, slippery tracks.
Oh yeah.
So had a good race after one of the runs, after one of the cautions. With that first caution with you, I was one of the guys that stayed out where you only took fuel. I was one of the guys who stayed out.
Yep.
Um, and then one of the guys who also just about wrecked himself spinning his tires on the restart. So on this older tires, and that caution came out right behind. I think it was a chain reaction to Roten and I both kind of spinning our tires. And so once that happened, I kind of said to myself, you know what? Maybe this is a bad idea to stay out on these tires. Like these things are pretty worn, and I don't want this to happen again. So because I was already in the back for getting loose and getting past, I just said, you know what? Let's just pit. So I pit, took the tires. It paid off huge for me because I wasn't stuck on that strategy with you guys, and I was able to really work my way through the pack on the restart and get up to a point where it was just myself, Donnelly, and I believe Brandon Combs. Um, Kind of just going at it. I got clear of Brandon and I think Perry was in the mix too. I got clear of the two of them and then just started gunning for Donnelly. And on the long run, it was a lot of fun. Donnelly and I had about 8 or 9 laps where we were crossing each other over, high line, low line. I mean, just battling side by side. The only downside of that is that it brought Dylan right into the mix. So
Yeah.
Dylan literally just saw us battling, came up there, passed us both while we were still battling, and then pulled away while we kept battling. And I know that Donnelly and I were both probably thinking the same thing of like, man, I just got to get clear of this guy
Yeah.
because Dylan's running away with this thing. And he got like a huge lead. We had some green flag pit stops, and then I came out in front of Donnelly and Perry right behind Dylan. And now it was just a matter of managing my tires. I had a strategy where I was like, I'm gonna save my tires till lap 100, and then I'm getting up top and I'm riding the wall. I don't care if I hit it. I'm gonna do everything I can to try and run Dylan down because I knew I had speed up there, especially on older tires. So um, that was working well. Caution came out. Then a lot of shit happened.
Yeah.
I jumped the restart on Dylan. I tried to time it perfectly, and I timed it too perfect, and that kind of screwed me. I got sent to the back, but then we had a caution. People pit. I got back up to like seventh, and on the restart, I was able to kind of manage where I was to finish seventh. So yet again, here I am on this podcast complaining about a seventh place finish. Um, but this was kind of reminiscent to Las Vegas, where like I had a lot of speed and didn't have the finish to show for it. So
Yeah.
all in all, an okay night. Um, and yeah, it was fun though, man. I really enjoyed that track and that setup. I know a lot of people didn't like how tight it was, but I didn't mind it. I was having a lot of fun.
Yeah. I think with the way the setup was, it just I just don't think I adapted to it. Like I was killing the right front, like more so than everybody else. I know, like in practice when we did some runs, um, we compared our tire wear, and I was just completely killing the right front, and I never got on top of it. I mean, I love that track too, but just with that setup, it wasn't really jiving for me. Yeah.
Another thing too that I forgot to put in the notes here, but the accidental open qualifying was kind of interesting.
Oh
I know you
yes,
I know you loved that. It
I
kind of
was a
definitely
I
threw
was
a
a big
little
fan of that.
yeah, it kind of threw a little wrench into some things, but it didn't work out for me. My own mistake cost me because I couldn't get a clean lap in. So my cleanest lap that I was able to get put me in 13th. Every time I was trying to run a fast lap, it was my qualifying laps were up high and as flat out as I could.
Uh,
And anytime I'd come off the corner, there was someone there, and I had to either lift or try to go low to get around them. So I didn't get a clean lap in. So it really hindered me and left me with a lot of work to do.
yeah, I think like Roten said, like I liked that, but I wouldn't want to see that every week. Like
Yeah.
I don't know how. Maybe this is like a next season thing. I don't know how you would choose like what tracks to do that at, but I thought that was a fun like wrinkle. I don't know like how you could decide what tracks get it or not, but
Hmm.
um, I don't know. We can probably maybe I'll bring that up in our off season episodes of like what we might want to see.
Yeah, and
Um,
just to kind of just peel the curtain back and reveal what caused that mistake is that we had we had discussed possibly going in the direction of doing single car qualifying, similar to how we do
Right.
at Daytona. And that was prior to us getting all of these new people in here. If
Yeah.
we were doing that with the mentality of having 12 to 15 cars a race, and like it was gonna be a lot of our repeat guys, a lot of people who really enjoyed what we do at Daytona, and we thought would enjoy it on a weekly basis. So when I set up the season, I set everything up initially to have open qualifying so that we
Yeah.
could do those. After last night, I now know to go back and edit all those and make sure that won't happen again. But yeah, that's kind of the reason for that happening there, and led to some of that little chaos there. So my apologies to the people who did not like it. Obviously, I'm not going to apologize to you. I think you were a fan of that, but
Well, I mean,
but
I'm not only a fan of it because I ended up third. Like that's not related to me liking it. Like it came out of nowhere as it's like a surprise, right? It's like, oh, this is different. Like this is fun, you know?
nobody knew it was coming. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, and that's the other thing. Like, if anybody wanted to say it was like unfair, I don't feel like that was a narrative that was going around. But it was the same for
No,
everybody. Literally, nobody knew that was gonna happen. So,
yeah.
um, yeah, that was a fun little wrinkle.
Well, it paid off well. Jack managed to steal the pole from it. Jack also managed to get our fastest lap and go ahead and get the win.
Yep.
So he sweeps another week here, with another big win for him. He was a huge benefactor of your caution because he was on that
Yeah.
strategy with you guys, stuck in the back. Mard, I think he was going to run out of fuel. Like, I mean, I heard him talking
Yes.
fuel saving. He was going to run out. So, I mean, for that caution, while it kind of killed Dylan and I's dreams of a nice little 1-2 in the office uh,
Yeah.
this morning, it really helped Jack out and brought him right back into this thing and let him go, walk away with that wind.
Yeah. Yeah. You mentioned Dylan. It must be said. I mean, he ran a um, classic like Dylan tire saving race. I would say like that
Yep.
was what I said in my prediction last week. Like
Yep, we all called it.
he's very good on old tires, and he played it perfectly and led most of the race. I don't have the results up, but he probably led upwards of
49.
like
He led 49
49
laps.
laps.
Yeah, so
So
he had the most. He doubled second place, which was Donnelly, who led 21 laps. So he doubled and then some.
yeah, so huge bummer for him on that one, but he will definitely be back and winning some more races this season. Uh,
Oh yeah,
I have no doubt in my
yeah.
mind about that. So and then yeah, Jack with his fourth career win, 50% win rating so far in
Mm,
this league, which is nuts.
not bad.
Um, yeah, and his second Grand Slam win with the fastest lap and the pole. So um, he sits. We'll get into the points here in a minute, but he's sitting very pretty at the top of the standings right now.
Yeah, as expected. He's looking like he's in a pretty good spot. It's got to feel pretty good to, like I said, manage to get back up there and win that race away. Now that was I looked and last night outside of Daytona, outside of Daytona, that was the most leaders that we have had in a race all season. We have
I
12
believe it.
different leaders.
I believe it.
We handed out a ton of bonus points. When you look at that bonus point category, I guess 12 would be the number that makes sense. So,
Yeah.
a lot of people were able to lead laps. Some guys leading some more than others. Donnelly, like I said, leading 21. I thought Donnelly drove a phenomenal race. He was the highest in the
Yeah,
driver rating. So,
he did.
uh, uh,
Comes home third.
Sim Racer Hub also thinks that Donnelly drove a hell of a race. Um, let's see, Dylan Perry led 20 laps. He also drove a great race.
Yeah,
Seemed to really
definitely.
kind of figure this car out. And
Yeah,
then
bummer
we
for
got a
him to come
couple
home
guys.
12th because he went up there and took the lead
Yeah,
for a while. And
yeah, yeah. Both Dylans didn't get the result they probably deserved with how well
Yeah.
they drove. So, well, you hate to see that.
That's
Just
why
kind of
it's why you run all the laps. I mean,
exactly.
this
But I tell you, I mean, the green flag run after some of the chaos we've had lately was a breath of fresh air. It was a lot of fun.
definitely, yeah. And I wish I had more speed to kind of have more fun during that, but I did not. Let's see what else do we got from Atlanta?
I think like just to go back to the long green flag run races, it was a lot of fun on those long green flag runs to see the comers and goers. That's kind of the beauty of that track is,
Yeah,
um, you know, you have no problem letting someone go ahead, man. Go ahead and get
Right.
out there. I'll see you in a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Like I know that I think Cody was one of those guys who like he had a lot of speed and would get out there, and then tire strategy kind of bit him in the butt. Um, and again, he's a guy I think also that drove a great race that didn't really have the result that he deserved,
Yeah.
finishing in 11th place. But a shout out to Cody as well. We knew he was good there. He was his own dark horse pick, so you know, just a good race for him. He looked good in practice. I think he had that fastest lap was set when like no one had been on the track, but
Yeah.
still, a good performance by him and a good turnout. And just probably a result. Couple guys getting results that they didn't, they didn't really deserve. Combs ran a good race. He got kind of hosed.
Yeah.
Um, so a lot of guys who were up there running good, clean races kind of didn't get good results because of some things that happened. But it was fun. It was fun to see it mixed up. It's fun to see you guys who are usually really fast get kind of stuck on strategy, and we
Yeah.
had some different faces up front, which was a lot of fun. Um,
Yeah, that was cool.
mm,
Roten went up there and led a few laps. He had the I think he missed pit road at one point, so that put him back. But yeah, he went up there and legitimately took the lead, um, which I think, a couple seasons ago we wouldn't see that on a track like this from Roten. So he's, like we've said in other podcasts, I think he's improving a lot on these tracks.
Yes, absolutely. And all tracks in general. I mean, we saw him at Chicago. Put his best
Yeah,
road course performance
definitely.
ever down. He's had a lot of good performances. A runner up at Daytona, so he's had a good little season here, a good little run, some solid finishes, and just kind of what you want to see improvement wise. So a good season for him there. Even though 15th place, he manages to steal a singular point last night.
Yeah. And then with the bonus point as well. So
Yeah,
um,
it's true. That's
two
true.
for him.
So yeah, a 2 point race. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well,
Everyone
let's.
was able to score, even though Dylan was 18th. He still managed to get a singular point because of that lead lap.
Yeah.
But that's got to hurt his championship run there.
Yeah. Definitely. It is. That is a bummer. Let's get into the points. While Dylan, yeah, he didn't really score that well. He still remains in second. Um, still remains in second in the drop week standings. I meant to duplicate the spreadsheet and then like update them so I could put like plus or minus for people. So we'll have that next week. But
I like it. I like it. Yeah, that'll be good for a mid-season wrap up after
yeah,
Bristol when we
definitely,
kind of hit the halfway point.
definitely. Yeah, we're one away from halfway. It's still Drucker in the lead with over a race of a points cushion on the lead. That is huge. This is
Yeah.
kind of how I started the season out last season, and I really hated that position because I was just like defending the points for the last 10 races or so. But um, I think Drucker has a little bit more speed generally than I had last season. Although in the trucks, I feel like for whatever reason that really jived with my driving style. But obviously he's in a really good spot, and then yeah, I'm in third somehow. I really don't know how that's possible, but because I just like other than the road course, I feel like I haven't really had like winning speed in any of these. Maybe Martinsville, but that didn't work out, and then potentially Auto Club. Auto Club I was probably third place on speed, and that's what I ended up with. I think so.
Yeah.
Um, and then I think you jumped up actually a little bit in the drop week standings.
Yes, I believe so. I believe I would think I was like, that's quite a few spots back actually, and I'm still dropping a 14, so I kind of feel good about where I'm at.
Yeah.
If I look at the regular season standings with everything included, it looks really good. So
Oh
I
yeah.
think if I just keep with my performances, and just keep running well, I don't necessarily want that 14 to turn into a lower number, but um, I kind of have that cushion of like I've had 2 bad runs and then a bunch of decent runs. So
Yeah.
I think I just got to keep doing that well. I think heading into next week, I'm a little skeptical, but I'm going to get a lot of practice in and try and figure out a place that's really kind of bit my ass for a while.
Yeah.
But before we get into Bristol, I want to bring up a point that that we discussed prior to the show here.
Uh huh.
sitting in fourth place, Owen Mays has obviously made a good charge back. His first three races were tough, but if you look at the last five races, he's had some pretty solid finishes. But
Yeah.
he's on currently on his longest winless streak in
Mm.
league history.
Yeah, that's we're at 11 races, I believe, on the winless streak for Owen. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Talladega season 11 was the last win.
yeah, and that's crazy that his last win was at Talladega too. I believe that was his first super speedway win, other than season one,
Yes.
race one. But that
Yes.
was a different. That was old Daytona and a completely
That
different
was a
era. I would say
yeah, that was
like season one is its own era, and everything else is like the modern era for us. You know what I mean? Well,
the
and even you
it was
could
the
separate
testing
it.
era.
You could separate it like season 2 to season 9 or season 10
Yeah.
rather, and then 11 and 12 are kind of its own with the new points. So, um, but in any case, yeah, it's definitely interesting with Owen. I think this season has been a bit crazy in general with the way the cautions have come out, and then yeah, at the end of last season, I think he was basically in a spot where he either had to win every race or it didn't really matter. So
Yeah.
um, that maybe explains the end of last season. But yeah, that's it's going to be interesting to see how long that goes on. I mean, I feel like none of us would be surprised if he came back and won any of the races we have coming up in this season. So
Correct. I'm
I
with you
mean,
on that.
it could be Bristol, and we're going to get into it in a minute. But he had a race at Bristol where he lapped everybody up to fourth place by 2 laps at least. So, um, definitely a good track for him. If it goes his
Yeah,
way,
he's
then
good there.
yeah. So, um,
And then even that after that, you got Dover. He's typically pretty good there. Darlington, I think he's really good at.
yeah,
Iowa, Miami. So his opportunities are definitely there in the next four races up to the All Star. So like I said, or like you said, it'll be really cool to keep an eye on and see what he can do. But you know, I
yeah,
think I think he's definitely a factor next week, and we'll get into next
yeah.
week. I think
So
here.
with 10 races left, looking at the drop week standings, I would say you get 36 points for a win, up to 38. So I don't know. You would think maybe down to Christian is still kind of in the conversation. Obviously, a
Hmm.
lot can happen, but even Christian, he's going to have to win, at least 3 or 4 races to get back up in there. Like just the lead that Jack has already is making it look pretty difficult for some of those guys already so early in the season to maybe make a run at the points. But a point I wanted to bring up is fifth place on the drop week standings down to really 15th. Like
All
if you
single
look
digits.
Christian to Nick, that all can be made up in one race. That's
Yep.
separated by 30 points. You get 36 for a win. Um,
Yep.
so it's super tight in the midfield. Um,
And
and
that
if
one of
any,
the things that I like to look at with that too is that um, as I'm realizing right now, if we look from Christian down, um, I'm still currently sitting on the highest drop week. So
yeah,
everybody else has a lot of they're all the drop weeks in that what we just talked about is all single digit drop weeks. So people have kind of already had those happen. So I'm personally
you're in
looking
a
forward
great
to
spot.
hoping
Yeah,
to I feel like I'm in a good position. I haven't had a good points finish since like season 2 or 3, so I'm looking forward to really trying to keep this alive because even though I've had some finishes I haven't been happy with, I feel like I've had a pretty strong season, and I hope to continue that and build on that. And see where I can wind up because I think I can make up some ground here on the guys in front of me. I think it's cool that the four guys that are in front of me and then the two guys that are behind me are the guys I've been racing like all season.
right.
So like I love that the points are kind of reflecting like this is who I've been around pretty much the entire season. So
Yeah,
I think if I look all the way up to Christian's had a little bit more speed than me, but it depends week to week because like I think I had a little more speed than him last night, but I didn't finish ahead of him. And so it'll be interesting to see going forward. But I think, yeah, all those other guys, Combs, Perry, Donnelly, BC Judd, those are all the guys I've been racing week to week. So I think that's really cool that the guys I have the speed with are, that whole group. Not only are we all racing for these points, but we're also all the guys who have been around each other. Pretty much, if you that same actually, if you look that same 5th to 15th, I mean, those are the guys week to week that we're all around each other. So
Yeah.
going to make things interesting, especially as things go on and people want points more and racing gets a little tighter. It could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think like the battle kind of for fifth in the points will be super super tight.
Exactly.
And
Exactly. I look forward to it.
it kind of seemed, I mean, at least from my standpoint, you're definitely having a much better start to the season than last season. Last season was a little bit of a disaster just with
Oh,
a lot of the bad luck you had in
yeah,
that
I've already
one.
forgot last season happened. Honestly, this is the best start I've had to a season in many seasons, to be honest.
Yeah.
Normally by now I'm struggling to get points and making a late season push. So if I can
Yeah.
just keep that alive and still make that good second half of the season push, there's a lot of tracks in that second half of the season that I really enjoy,
Right.
especially the two that we start the second half on. Are two of my favorite tracks, along with the one we just ran. So
Yeah.
I think I just got to survive Bristol, and I can really kind of actually Homestead as well, Charlotte. I mean, so there's a lot of tracks that are ahead of us that I really enjoy in the second half of the season. So I feel like I'm in a good spot. But again, all these other guys around me, they all race well at these tracks, so it'll be interesting.
Yeah, and then just looking at kind of, I feel like the top four sort of in the quote unquote championship conversation at this point. Even
Hmm.
though I'm third, I feel like I'm probably the fourth of those four speed wise over the, over all of the tracks. So um, I'm not in the best position, I think, to challenge for first in the championship. But um, with the speed and wins that Hoffman has had so far, I say the top four, but it seems like it's kind of Hoffman and Drucker at this point, kind of as the main two protagonists. But
Hmm.
a lot can change. We got 10 races to go, one of which is Bristol. You want to get into previewing that?
Yeah, absolutely. Next week we head to Bristol. I believe we haven't raced there in a little bit. I'm trying to think when the last time we raced there. I believe it was
Last
like two
time was
seasons ago.
season 10, yes.
Yeah, so 2 seasons ago, what was that? A next gen car, I believe. So
That was ARCA.
Arca, that's right. And
Season 10
I
was
think I
ARCA.
remember
Yeah,
Christian went on to win that race and had a good
Christian
run
did.
there.
Yeah, Christian and I battled at the end, and yeah, he just had the speed to hold me off there. There was 16 cautions in that 181 lap race. So, um,
Out of but it's I can tell you that's a bit of an outlier.
yeah.
We've had 3 races with double digit cautions in the past here, but we've also had 4 races with single digit and 2 of those races having 2 and 3 cautions. So I think it seems like it's really up in the air as to what kind of race we're gonna get. Um, and it'll be interesting. We've had quite a handful of lead changes in some races, and we've
Hmm.
also had races where we haven't had many lead changes at all. So I think it's really just a toss up as to what kind of race we're going to get at Bristol for sure.
Yeah, I feel like this is probably going to be one of those larger caution races, as much as that pains me to say, because that's not what I want. But um, just judging off of how Martinsville went, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. It just like Bristol is different, but
Yeah,
it
I,
just
I
seems
was
like
going to say that.
people make a lot of low percentage moves and early in the race, and we end up with a lot of cautions. But
I feel like it's hard to really compare like a Bristol and a Martinsville, mainly just because of the speed you carry around
yeah,
Bristol, the different lanes. There's not like a you're not just flooring it to a hairpin corner and slamming on the brakes, because I think
yeah,
that's where a lot of the problems come in. Like,
I do agree with that.
you're lifting and you're either sending it high or you're running it around the bottom, and it's not like any hard braking zones where people are going to under brake or overdrive a corner. Like there's an art to running Bristol well, and it's one that I can happily say I haven't figured out yet, and I hope to figure out. But I think it has the possibility to stay clean and um, to stay green, which I
Hmm.
think with the number of people that we have coming to these races, it could get interesting if we stay green and
Get
we
some
got
lap
people that got to
traffic.
run into lap traffic.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that could really be interesting, especially guys in the back battling for position. They don't have to move out of the way. They're racing for position. Leaders got to find a way around that could hold them up, bring them back to the people chasing after them. So
Yeah.
it could be fun. I think
I hope that's how it
I look
is.
forward to it. I agree. I'm with you. I would love to see some. I would love to see some green flag runs at Bristol. We've done it in the past, so we could do it again. All our. I will point out too, like outside with season 10 is like an outlier with 16 cautions. All of our bad races here happened in season 3, season 4. We had 15 and 19, but
You're right.
season 5, season 6, the last time we were in this car was you know 3 and 9, right? So
Yeah.
I think we know how to do it. I think it's just a matter of going out and doing it.
Yeah, and I mean the last time we ran this car at this track, that was the one where Owen lapped the field up to fourth. So that must have been a long green flag run for that to have taken place there. So
Yeah, he led 105 out of the 200 laps, and the race only took an hour and 15 minutes, and
yeah,
we ran 200 laps. So, that's that was there were 9 cautions in that race, and he still managed to do that. So that
yeah.
last run must have been pretty damn good
I remember it
for
being
Owen to be able
it.
to do that.
I do remember that race because I just remember thinking like, how is he so fast? And it looks like we must have had some sort of late caution as well because Donnelly was only 2 seconds behind and Judd was 5 seconds behind. So maybe there was like a 15 lap run at the end or something. But um, yeah, it's crazy to just see everybody. Everybody, Dylan and I were fourth and fifth,
Yeah,
and 2 laps down. I
2 laps
mean,
down.
that's
That's crazy.
that's gnarly. So yeah, it should be a fun one. I hope we get some good racing.
Well, who's your pick?
Uh, on the spot, I
Yep,
am gonna
we're doing it
pick.
now.
I'm gonna pick Brandon Combs.
Ooh, it's a good
I
pick actually.
I
I like
think
that.
because he always has a lot of speed, and I think I do think there's gonna be chaos, so
Hmm.
it could shuffle it up, and um, if he's up there late in the race, then yeah, I think that can work out for him. So yeah, I'll go BC2.
Now, do you have a dark horse pick?
Um, Dark horse, definitely not myself. Um, I
I
feel
feel
like
that.
I feel like the only way I can win is if all the really fast guys are completely destroyed, and I'm up there in the top three with some guys who maybe don't run up at the front a whole lot, don't have a lot of
Mhm.
experience with like racing for the win, and I can just kind of barge my way through. But I think if there's anybody with relatively good speed, I just am not historically very good at that track. So a dark horse pick, I'll go Austin Bloom.
Ooh, that's a
Yeah,
good pick as well. He's pretty strong there. He's been strong there in the past.
yeah, and just with
Um,
the physical nature of how this race could be, I feel like I don't have to connect the dots there. So
yeah, I
um,
like that. I think I'm gonna go. I I I think after what I saw this past week, and um, I think there's gonna be a revenge tour. I'm gonna pick Dylan again. Probably
great pick. Yeah,
that's another track he's really good at. I think he's again. I think he's gonna be wanting to get back a win that was so close to him in Atlanta. I think he's gonna go get that. And then my dark horse uh, is going to be uh, Donnelly for sure. I think Donnelly's just
yeah,
always really good at these tracks. I wouldn't even consider him really like a dark horse. Like I would just kind of consider him like my second pick to win.
right.
And he's just always good at these tracks. He's been strong the last couple weeks. Again, I had a blast racing yesterday, and so
Yeah.
I think that's kind of my like I will call it a gray horse. My ultimate dark horse is that if Joe Crouch shows up, watch out
Oh yeah,
because Joe is so good at Bristol, and I don't know how he does it, but like he's good there, man. Like he's always strong there. And whatever car we get in, he's got the place. That like I said, there's a secret sauce to run in Bristol. Joe has it, man. So
yeah.
there's my true dark horse is going to be if Joe shows up to the race, which I heard from what it sounded like
I
last night, he
believe he
might.
is. Yeah,
So
I
yeah,
believe he
so if
is.
he does, I think that's a real that's a legitimate pick to get up there and mix it up with the guys because he's strong there.
Yeah, season two winner in the trucks. He beat Owen Mays and Donnelly. So two
There,
other really
there you
strong
go.
guys there. And if he gets out to the lead in that race, good luck passing him.
Yep.
Another guy to look for the previous winner when we went there last, Christian. I feel like he's really good there as well, and
Yep.
he can pop out a good run here and there, for sure. Hasn't had a win in a while as well, so I don't know what the tally is on that, but he's definitely due for one.
And then like even just a couple other guys keep an eye on, like, you know, this is a track that I think Judd's pretty good at.
Yeah,
This is a track that I feel like Dylan Perry's can be fairly strong at
sure.
as well. He's had just a good last couple weeks
Yeah,
of running, so I think he can he get there, mix it up, and then like you said previously, I think Austin's a good one to keep an eye on too, because that track just fits him well for, be aggressive, run aggressive lines.
yeah.
There's room to be aggressive at times, so that's sometimes what Austin needs. I mean that in the nicest way possible, but he needs a
Well,
little room sometime to be aggressive and to be fast. So I think that is a good one to keep an eye on. Also, before we move on, throwback week. So,
oh
do you have any
yes.
idea what you're doing for throwback week? Do you want to spoil anything? You want to make any announcements?
I don't have the scheme finished yet, but all I will say is it is not a previous NASCAR scheme.
Mm,
It is a throwback to a company.
okay, I like
So
it.
one of those throwbacks where it's not actually a throwback scheme, but like let's say if my sponsor was Mountain Dew, I would run an old-fashioned Mountain Dew logo and paint scheme. Does that
Hmm.
make sense? So
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
guys can try and figure that one out. I feel like that may be slightly easy to put together. But what about you? What are you? Have you
I don't
announced
know.
yours yet?
Is it if it's gonna be that old ugly ass brown that Southwest used to run? Then I'm so in. I'm so down because I miss those ugly ass
Yeah.
copper planes. I like the blue and all, but I mean,
Yeah.
but for me, mine's simple. I was just gonna throw back to some of the guys who throughout the year have given me entertainment in the Xfinity series and who I've really liked following, and they're now in Cup now. So it came down to two guys who I really like, and one of them was the scheme that I'm running is a guy who was one Daniel Hemrick away from being a two-time champion. So
Mm.
it's going to be a throwback to 2020. It's going to be hard to miss because it's going to be a very bright color.
Okay.
Um, and even though it's only a throwback to like 5 years, got
Still
to
a
throw it back
throwback.
to my guy. Still throwback, right? I can't believe that happened 5 years ago. To be honest, it's kind of
Yeah.
crazy. But yeah. So that's where I'm going with that. I already put the ugly ass wheels on the car that match.
Perfect.
The die cast that I have sitting over here of that championship winning car. So um, that's pretty easy to figure out. But
Yeah.
I won't say it. I'll let y'all figure it out. So um,
I
yeah.
was going to throw back to my season one paint scheme, the Tito's,
Oh,
but
Tito's.
I felt like that might be kind of kind of difficult
Throwback
to
to yourself.
recreate. Yeah, also it's like yeah, I don't know about throwing back to yourself. That's I don't know if I have the resume to be doing all that. And I don't really like when like on the cup throwback weekends they'll throw back to like a late model scheme like
Yeah.
nobody that's only fun for you. Like whatever. I don't know.
I'm kind of with you on that. But tell you what, though, I think seeing that Kyle Larson's throwback
mm,
is legitimately
yeah.
uh, it's that I didn't think they could do better than the Kellogg's one last year.
Yeah,
They did.
it's crazy.
That has officially sold me a ticket to Darlington just to see that car
Oh,
in
really?
person.
Okay. How about
I
that?
was lucky enough that last year Larson's pit stall was right in front of me, so every time that
Ooh.
he pit, I got to see that car nice and up and close.
Did you see it
So
when he ate shit in that car?
yeah, I have pictures of it when it was like blown up. And they were fixing it on pit road because one of my buddies is a big Larson fan, so I sent him a picture and said, "Hey, look at my view," and it's them in the
Oh
hood.
no.
Uh, but
Yeah. Tragic.
that's in the real world. That's a good transition. That race is a couple weeks away, but we just had a little race at Homestead this past weekend for the NASCAR guys. What do you think of the weekend?
Well, so for the weekend, I watched most of the truck race. Um, I do want to slightly touch on the truck race because that did you get to watch that?
Yeah,
Yeah. So I mean, what a race, right?
yeah, it
Like,
was really good.
what a race! The truck series has actually been on fire recently because they haven't been behaving like maniacs. you know,
Huh,
kind of
true.
that's how that series is sort of branded because of we've had a few years of shithousery, but um, yeah, what a race! Obviously, huge bummer for Corey Heim to have uh,
Dude.
those issues, and then in the Xfinity race the next day, he had the same issue with the car just shutting off. So really weird. And then
Like, is he
obviously,
hitting a button he doesn't know about? Does he have like a
I don't
leg
know.
in a spot that's hitting a button? Like do they have a
Yeah,
button somewhere that his leg's accidentally hitting because of how he's shaped or something? Like that's crazy for that to happen in two different
yeah.
cars, two different races.
It must have been so surreal in the Xfinity race for him to have the same issue and be like, "Is this really happening again? Like, is this real
Yeah,
life right now?" But Larson obviously had the incident early on, which I thought was super silly. Like, just in general, I don't think it was like Lane Riggs' fault or anything, but
no,
because he obviously at that point you have to keep Larson behind. But yeah, just a silly incident, and he spins out, and he's got to come from the back, and like with 10 to go, you're like, oh, Heim's having these issues. Oh, I guess Lane Riggs is gonna win this race as long as Heim's engine keeps being dumb. And then on the broadcast, they're like, "Oh yeah, Larson caught him by 3/4 of a second that lap." You're like, "What? 3/4 of a
yeah,
second? He's gonna
dude,
be there."
yeah,
Um, so that was
in no
yeah,
time. He made it look effortless. But
yeah,
I will say on the Corey Heim topic too, like let's listen to the teardown. It was one of the guys. I forget who it was. I forgot which one it was, but they brought up the point that like multiple times, like he went up there and was able to pass Larson and get around him.
yeah.
And I think had his engine not had problems, Larson wouldn't have had that easy of a time passing him because Heim was running the wall
Oh yeah. No, he had the
in
best
Larson's
truck.
way, and yeah, he was really fast. He put on like a big time performance, but also shout out Lane Riggs because that truck was fast too. He um he finished second place, and um you know he was quick all night as well. So it was a good race. I think it was a good time. Um, the I didn't see as much of the Xfinity
No, I
race
didn't
as
either.
I think I missed the first stage, but the the second half of the race, I guess the second and third stage, it was pretty good. I mean, it was just kind of what you want to see out of Homestead, but then unfortunately with Larson's, Larson dominated the race, so there was
Yeah,
that. But everything else is pretty fun. And then with that late caution, Larson, kind of got hosed on that. Sam Mayer
yeah.
lifted his tires off the ground on the restart, and then went on to win the race. Like what a total slap in the face that was.
Well, I think Allgaier won the race, didn't he?
Oh yeah, my bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, but yeah, that was silly from Mayer. And as much as I'm not a Kyle Larson hater or anything, but I'm not really a Kyle Larson fan, let's say.
yeah,
But I did after he won the truck race, I was like, let's go. I want to see him win the weekend. Like I want to see this.
yep,
I wasn't really into NASCAR like that when Kyle Busch did it the two times, so I haven't seen that. And while it is boring to see the same winner every time, like it is cool to witness greatness. Like in 2022 in F1 when Max was winning everything,
yeah,
it's a lot of people were bitching about it, and I'm like, you guys need to chill out and understand what we're watching right now. Like this is a generational run, and
yeah,
while
exactly.
it is not the most entertaining racing, you're gonna look back on this and be like, wow, that was cool to see. So
Or like the same note of that, like the races were like it was Max and Lewis 1 and 2. You could switch them however you wanted throughout the
yeah,
season, and then third place, the teammates of these guys, third and fourth place, were like 19 or 20
yeah,
seconds behind them. Like that was just like if you can't appreciate that, I don't know what to tell you, dude. You're watching the wrong sport. Like
exactly.
I don't. You know what I mean? Like the fact that those two guys, I mean, that's something like that just proves that person is just so much better. Like
Yeah,
those two guys were just so much better, and I think we're seeing that kind of out of Larson. The way that
yeah,
on the truck in the truck race, he said, "All right, it's go time. I'm gonna put this thing on the wall and just get to the front." He did it, and then he did the same damn thing on Sunday. He said, "You know
yeah,
what? It's go time. I'm gonna put this thing on the wall, and I'm gonna run down the leader and go win the race." And that's exactly what he did in the truck and the cup race, while he dominated the majority of the Xfinity race. So like it was pretty. I think what did he lead like 130 laps or something like that? Like it was it
in the
was
Xfinity
insane.
race, yeah, something like that. He
Yeah,
led
I
most
think
of the
he.
race.
Yeah, I think I'm looking. I think he led 132 laps. If this is right, what I'm looking at, like that's crazy.
That's nuts. Yeah,
Yeah, that's the race was a 201 lap race. He led almost 3/4 of the race. Like that was like it's like you said, it's greatness, and you gotta appreciate it.
yeah. So bummer he didn't get the sweep, but He did end up winning the Cup race. Uh, there was a lot of talk online about how this was a boring race.
Oh, the people are idiots, dude.
Yeah, just you're not a race fan. If you don't like that race, I'm sorry.
This was the purest form of stock racing, dude. Like stock car
Yes,
racing. This was everything you want in a race. There was tire wear. There was passing. There was 5 lanes. It felt like,
yeah.
uh, there were a bunch of different leaders. Like it was perfect. This track is just it's phenomenal.
Stage two was such a great little miniature race as well. Like,
Yeah,
you had Blaney get out there and kind of got hung up behind traffic and kind of burned his tires up a little bit, and then you basically have Hamlin and Larson on the charge, where they were on a little bit different strategy, and they get up there. Hamlin gets by, and then Larson's coming. Larson's quicker, so he's gonna try and catch Hamlin, and then side by side to the line. Like, what a perfect race that was, and it was a
the race within the race. Yeah,
yeah. Denny ended up fifth, which I feel like is about how quick their car was. I think fifth is probably the maximum that he could have got. Um, and then late in the race, kind of stage two also, but Bubba Wallace had an outstanding race. He was so good on the short run. Like he took off like a rocket, and then they kind of faded towards the end of the run. I was so hoping that we would get a caution with like 15 to go, because
yeah.
that would have been all Bubba if we ended
And
up
and I
getting that.
I think he learned from like early on in the race because like early on in the race we saw him have that speed and then fall back
Yeah,
a lot faster. I think that last little bit when he got out, he led 56 laps. When he got out front, like I think he just made the decision of like track position is key and my car's really fast in clean air, and he just went up there and took the
yeah,
lead and then just went for it. And like yeah, he kind of fell back to the pack, but he fell back a lot slower than he had previously in the race. And I'll even say like previously in his career, like that would
yeah,
be like a couple years ago. That's a Bubba go lead 30 laps and then just fall back to like 15th. I mean, he still held on to third place.
yeah,
He and Bowman had a good little race at the end there. Bowman got by him, and then Bowman makes his mistake and gets in the wall. But like to bring home a third place finish, I think I heard he's like seventh in points now or something like that. So
oh really?
yeah, a good start to the season, a good bounce back from like some just shitty situations like where his brakes blew up at Phoenix and things like that. Kind of a good bounce back for him. Uh, and like you said, a really good finish. Um, but dude, just this race in general, man, this was just so cool. I think I noted on here that Jordan Bianchi was talking about possibly the city of Miami, and once they want this place back as the championship race. And after what I just saw, like I do too.
Oh yeah,
Like holy cow!
yeah.
Like
Somebody on Twitter I saw was like, "Do you guys really want the championship here? This is boring." And like, yes,
oh, yeah, you're
yes,
an
this
idiot,
is what we want. Imagine if the final four there. Where were the results? I just had them up here. Imagine if the final
um,
four was like Larson, Bowman, like Briscoe and Hamlin. They all. I mean,
right?
I'm obviously cherry picking from the results, but that's a realistic final four. And
Yeah,
if that
you
was the
even throw Blaney.
case,
That Blaney led 124 laps.
oh, we got
You
to
know?
talk about Blaney. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I
they
got
come
that
back,
noted on here. Don't
they
worry.
come back from commercial, and it is just like the biggest vape cloud you could possibly imagine coming from the 12 car. Like, and it's just a jump
Dude,
scare. They just come back from commercial, and it's kaboom, kaboom, and like I just got up from my chair. I'm like, no, not again. How is this
dude,
happening to him? Like, what the hell is
just
going on? And he's the only
the
one.
worst luck.
He's the only one that's blowing engines. Like, how is that happening? Why?
Absolute just worst luck possible, man. You feel bad.
And he had the
It's
best
just
car too. Like, I don't know
yeah, he
how it would
led
have gone on
124 laps,
that super long run. Like, would we have gotten to see Larson go up there and pass him? I don't know, because I think the 12 was definitely the best car. So yeah, if you throw that in, I mean,
yeah,
imagine the drama if that's the championship race. Like, oh my god.
right. Also,
Um,
like I mean, just throw Blaney in that last run with Larson, Bowman,
yeah,
Bubba,
he's
like
up
and
there.
and Briscoe closing in on Bubba for a while there, and then like that, like it put Blaney in the mix of all that, and like man, well, like what a finish! I think it could have been a situation where Blaney's almost following Larson to the front.
Yeah,
Had they been in the same position, in the same spot, I think Blaney follows Larson in the front, and then we have a crazy finish and the possibility of Blaney getting revenge for how he kind of lost that race with to Reddick last year. So yeah, that was just like anyone who calls that boring, like just shut up. I don't
Yeah.
want to hear it. Like you're an idiot. That's that. That's all I got on that. You're an idiot. That's what I'm gonna leave it at.
Over and
And
out. Yeah.
yeah, you know what I mean. That was just pure stock racing. I want to comment on one thing too. Speaking of not bad. This isn't bad luck. This is just bad performances. But I had to laugh at Clint Boyer in the pre-race and all throughout. And I made a note of this that he was talking about Ty Gibbs. Oh, you keep an eye on that 54 car today. They've had a bad season so
Yeah.
far, but
Right.
they got speed. Keep an eye on that. Hey, Clint, I kept an eye on him. He finished 25th.
Yeah.
So, and just couldn't seem to figure anything out. So like, don't you know? I'm sure all 5 of the Ty Gibbs fans out there got their hopes up when Clint was saying all that, and they had him crushed. But but yeah, man, geez, what a just brutal, just a brutal,
Brutal
brutal,
start. Yeah.
brutal start. Just
Yeah.
crazy
And I
stuff.
know they're trying to kind of rebuild that team, but it's just I don't know. I hope they get better throughout the year because right now it's just
Yeah.
it's uh it's
I mean,
they're not in a good place.
like look at Briscoe. I mean, if you think about it, Briscoe's kind of got to not rebuild a whole team, but he's got to rebuild himself. He's got to move to a whole other team,
Yeah.
get adjusted to a whole new crew chief, this and that. And he's out there. I had him in like in our preseason show. I said that he wasn't going to have a good year. He's had pretty solid start to the year. He had a good
Yeah.
finish here, and he's been hanging around having some speed. And like it's wild. Like Ty, you've been in that car for a while now, and yeah, that's just that's it's tough to watch. I mean, you know,
Yeah,
ugh.
so if he doesn't win next week, I think we talked about this, he'll be the longest tenured JGR driver to not win a race, which he is good at Martinsville, I would say. So um,
That's true.
if they can qualify well, then maybe they can have a good day. But I don't know. I
Maybe
wouldn't
if
put
we
money
put
on it.
like Brandon Jones in a cup car, he can like wreck him for another
Yeah,
win or something. Yeah.
maybe that's the move. Um, maybe they put Brandon Jones in the old Tricon car and give Ty Gibbs some motivation. But yeah, we got
Yeah.
Martinsville coming up. They should have that softer tires. So, well, I guess it's the same tire as last fall, which I felt like that was a pretty good race last fall. So,
Yeah, I think I mean, dude, that fall race has just turned into like must see TV every year. I
yeah.
mean, I don't care how bad the package is; it still is must see TV
Well, yeah,
for the
and
last couple years.
NBC helps that along too. I think
Yeah,
with
true.
their
Great transition into my weekly Fox rant. I don't have a lot, which is kind of crazy, but there is just a couple things. It just like I said last week, man. Like, well, first of all, okay, so we have this new guy in, and like I don't know if this can be attributed to him, but I noticed some of the camera work, some of the camera shots that we got mid
okay,
battle, mid race. Like we got a lot of top down views, a lot of that cool angle where it's like the inside and you can really see cars gaining on each other depending on the lane
right,
they're running in when they come up the corner. Like a lot of good stuff in that department. I thought the production and the camera stuff, I like I said, I don't know if I'm being dramatic or whatnot, or maybe I just have like a I'm just saying this because I know there's a new guy there, and if I didn't know, I wouldn't be
right.
able to tell. But like, I felt like it was better.
Yeah,
Uh,
less zooming. I think now that I think
yeah,
about it.
like that's a big thing, right? Because that's a track where you want to see these runs, right? You want to see guys going to the corner, and one guy's on the bottom, one guy's up top, and then when they come off the exit of the turn, you can see the speed that guy up top
Yeah,
has, and the run they're gonna get. So I thought that was good. But God, the booth, dude, the booth needs help. I like.
yeah,
I'm sorry, Mike Joy is just not. It's not the same. You know, like like when Bowman gets in the wall and Larson makes the pass, it's like you would have thought that like nothing happened
yeah,
if you were just listening to the race and not watching, and they were just like, oh, Bowman's in the wall and Larson at the lead, like, and that's it.
right.
Like it was just that much energy, and it was just dog shit. And then I don't know, man. Clint just says shit sometimes. He seems lost. I don't know, like half the things he says sometimes. And Kevin and Clint just step on each other, and then Mike steps on the both of them. So like I don't
Yeah,
know. There's just something chemistry wise they got to figure out. I think that's a tougher one to fix than a guy going in there and just giving us some different camera angles. Like
yeah.
that's gonna take a little work to fix. So what do you think of the broadcast?
I mean, yeah, I mean, I love Clint Boyer. He's like such a character, but I feel like they are telling him to be so like rambunctious and ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they're telling him to kind of because like they're trying to make a new DW, and maybe
Yeah,
this is
kind
a
of like
little
what
bit,
they did to DW late in his career, right?
yeah,
Like
like maybe this is too tinfoil hat, but I feel like they're trying to. they're telling him to be like that, and it's like you can almost tell he's like trying to be silly, and I really don't like when a broadcast booth of any sport is trying to sell me on the race. Like,
Hmm.
I get that we're trying to obviously cater to some new fans on the broadcast, and that's fine. To a certain extent, you have to do that. Um,
Yes.
but it's like, don't try to sell me something that's not there. I can see what's happening. You don't have to, you know, upsell it. And then my biggest rant on Fox. This is going to be a little bit of a soapbox here for a couple minutes. The way they do the starting grid, okay,
Oh
and
God.
this is it is amplified because I watched the F1 race right before the NASCAR race. I rewatched it because it was at 3 in the morning, so I didn't stay up for it. But um, so I just finished the F1 broadcast, and the F1 broadcast is so tight. Like, it's David Croft and Martin Brundle. They each have a very specific job. They know how to do it very well. There are
Hmm.
zero commercials. Okay, zero. There's no stoppages, even if there's a safety car, which there wasn't. But even if there is, there's no stoppages. Okay,
No time for them to
yeah,
stop and recoup.
and they don't need to ramble on about ridiculous things. But the starting grid alone, I haven't ranted about this on the podcast, but this is a huge topic for me. The starting grid on Fox takes 10 minutes, and they introduce a few rows, and then they go to an interview. And then they introduce a few more rows of the starting grid, and then they go to an interview of like Jamie Little talking about one of the drivers. And then,
They don't even introduce them. They're just like, oh, row one. Look, there's or row five. There's Bubba Wallace is in that row, and then like, oh, look, row eight. Carson Hocevar's there.
yeah,
Like that's like they don't even read. Yeah, it's crazy.
they like the starting grid does not need to be this extravagant production. Just show us the starting grid. You can interview people or go to the pit reporters afterwards. I can't follow the starting grid because it's a 5 minute segment and they're cutting away from people constantly. Also, maybe this is a nitpick for me, but I don't need to hear a fucking in-car interview. Okay, I'm
Yeah.
not a fan of that. It's the same thing every time. Hey, Kyle, it's Joe, it's Clinton, Kevin in the booth. You got us? Yeah, you got us.
Yeah, what's up, guys?
How's your car today? Car's pretty good. Appreciate all the guys and da 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 da. Well, we're gonna be watching you. Is the same thing every time.
That's it.
I
Yeah,
don't
I mean,
care
you nailed
about it,
it. That's the
and
script, I think.
I don't give a shit about it. Like, and I love when it doesn't work because that just shows me like I love when it doesn't work. Oh, we can't get them on the
You
deal.
got
Like,
it. You got us. And you hear like the crew chief for a second, and
yeah,
like the spotter, and they're like, "Oh shit!" Like we just kind of interrupted something. Like, and they're like, "Oh, we'll try him again soon." I'm like, "No, just how about never try him again ever?"
yeah. I don't know who's like
I couldn't agree more with
who's
this.
asking for that because I think they do it on NBC too. So I don't know if the sponsors of the cars really like that because it gives like a moment, for that car with that sponsor to shine. But maybe that's it. Maybe we're never gonna get rid of it. But I just don't like that. And to do it in the middle of the starting grid, what are we doing? Just show me the starting
Yeah,
grid. Just show me these stupid cartoon characters in the order that they're gonna start the race. Like I
it's crazy.
it, so I don't know. I get bent out of shape on that every
You know
week
what?
because I'm just
Uh,
like, this is so wrong. This is not
I couldn't
how
agree
you
more.
should be doing the starting grid. It's just a starting grid. Just show me where people are starting. I don't know
Yep.
where anybody's starting because y'all take me on this whole rigmarole of we're talking to Jamie Little and we've barely gotten through 4 rows of the grid. Like, it's
And
just
that's the
not.
thing. You talk about row three, and then you talk about row six, and you talk about row. Oh wait, we forgot to mention this guy up in row four.
Yeah,
Let's go to the next page. Like, dude, run through it and just like do it.
that's another thing.
You
They
watch any
only
old broadcast, like, and they just and like they run through the starting order.
yeah,
Like,
and then they do like the first 10 rows with this stupid format, and then they just put the remaining 20 guys up there on the side.
or they don't even show
They
them.
don't even
They're just
show
like,
the.
oh, well, we ran out of time because it took us
Yeah,
too long to connect to Joey Logano.
yeah. So they don't even it's just half-assed and dumb. And
I'm so with you on this.
yeah, I don't know. It's so much worse when you watched an F1 broadcast right before
Yeah.
because it's just such a contrast of um people that really like care about what they're putting out, and then it seems like, I'm sure Fox does care, but it seems like they don't. It seems like they're
Yeah.
just phoning it in every aspect of their broadcast. So,
Well, and also to go back to what you like to take this same point and then revisit what you said about like this explaining and this over like how are you gonna like not even run through the starting order but
yeah,
then sit here and talk to me like I've never watched a race before,
yeah,
right? Like you got to think 80, like I get you want to cater to your newer people, I
sure,
get it, like that's fine, but like yeah, I think 80% of the people who are watching these races watched it last week and have been watching the past
yeah,
however many races that they've been a fan of the sport, right? So like you said with F1, they don't dumb it down too much. They do sometimes when they need to explain things,
well,
but they
they
do it
do.
quick and efficient,
It's
and they
quick,
move
yes.
on. Yes, right? Like
It'll be like
versus
Martin Brundle will quickly say like, if you're new to F1, welcome. DRS is where they open the rear wing and they can go a little bit faster. And then he gets on to
yeah.
this point. Like, very simple, very quick, not trying to sell how great. Like if that was on Fox, it'd be if you're new to NASCAR, the DRS flap is it's the part of the rear wing, and the rear wing provides
Let's go
downforce
to the
and
Fox cutaway
yeah,
car. Yeah,
like
fucking mid race. There's a battle for the lead, and we're gonna go Larry McReynolds in the fucking cutaway car,
yeah,
and we're gonna talk about that. Like I love that stuff. Don't get me wrong. There's a time and a place for everything, though.
yeah,
Like I don't need to see when someone uses side draft to hold the person up on a straightaway, and then uses that to pass them. I don't need a lap later to cut away to the fucking digital car
yeah,
and this is how side draft works. And it's like, dude, Larry, you have a purpose. Give me your big nuggets. Give me your strategy. Give me what you would do. Give me what the cars are
give me
doing.
the
And
trends.
that's what I want, man. Like I don't like. Don't get me wrong. Again, I love the cutaway car thing. I think it's really cool. A lot of the stuff they do with it and that they show with it.
Yeah, no, it is
But
nice at
sometimes it's
times.
like it's like it's in the wrong place, wrong time, or it's like just a bit overdone, and it doesn't need to be that long. Like especially don't do that to me in a green flag race. I don't
No,
don't
yeah,
show me an interview with a driver that, we come back from a commercial and I just spent 4 minutes watching commercials and now we come back and we got a little 30-minute segment while the race is still going on. Like, get out of here with that shit. I don't
yeah,
need it. Like, it all reminds me of that fucking guy dressed as a seed a couple years ago, the watermelon seed. It all just gives me flashbacks to that horrible memory. Anytime they cut away to some little tidbit, little segment thing in the middle of the race, like, dude, I want to watch the race, please.
yeah. And then my last thing on Fox, and this is on the topic of commercials, and the commercial conversation does get annoying to me because you got to pay the bills. But I felt like
Right.
there were
And
much
it's a 4 hour race versus F1, which
sure,
is a 2 hour window,
sure,
short window, and they're green 99% of the time anyway.
yeah,
So there's not a lot of space to put a commercial, right?
right. And I felt like I did feel like there were more commercials this week than others, but it's like whatever. I get that there's commercials. It is frustrating. I want to watch the race, but fine. This is my issue. We go full screen commercial under green 10 times during stage 1. I think it was legitimately like 7 commercial breaks in the 60 lap stage 1. Okay?
I can tell you there was two before lap 23. I know that for a fact
Yes,
because I bitched
there
about it.
was I remember texting my friends we went to commercial 9 laps into the race, which it's a 30-second lap. So that means we didn't even make it 5 minutes into the race without a green flag commercial. But again, I understand there has to be commercials. It's
I get
annoying,
it.
but I'm fine. This is the
I
problem
get
I
it.
have when we're under caution for Blaney's thing, okay? And
And we fucking split screen,
they're
bro.
cleaning up the pit lane, and Mike Joy's like, "Well, we're gonna go side by side." Like, you're gonna go side by side now? I
That's the
don't
same as
I don't want to
that's the
watch.
same as.
I don't
Go
want to
ahead. Go
watch.
ahead.
I don't
Ran
want to
away.
watch a side by side under caution when they're cleaning. There's guys cleaning up the fucking water on pit road from Blaney's car, and then to top it off, I was already bitching about it, and then the first commercial is a NASCAR commercial.
Dude,
They're
I think it was
advertising
the
for the
first
Cup
two.
Series.
Yeah, I think it was the Cup Series, and then I think it was like an Xfinity Series or like
Yes.
Goodyear or some shit. Like, dude,
Why are we
that is
cutting away from NASCAR to advertise NASCAR?
that is on the same note as them at some point last year doing. I believe they did a. It might have even been already this year. I'm not sure, but it was a crank it up during pit stops. It was like a yellow flag, and
Yeah.
they're like, all right, we're gonna crank it up, and I'm like, excuse me, and it's literally just like pit stops, which I mean, kind of a cool spin on things, but like
Well,
you
back in the
guys
day
already
when it
kind of
was wah, 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 wah. Now it's just grrr.
Yeah.
like,
And like also like I'm not cranking up pit stops, dude. Like
yeah,
I'm gonna crank up green flag runs with no spotters. I'm glad they did that. I'll give
yeah.
them credit on
To
that.
give
If I
them
gotta
some
give them
credit,
one
that
credit this
was,
week, sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
that has been great with the no spotter crank it up. That's been the best part of my Sunday recently.
Yeah. That's so while we ran about them for a while, we'll end on with
Sure.
Fox on good job on getting rid of spotters during crank it up. Good
Yeah.
job, guys. I can't wait to see one during a pit stop at Martinsville.
Yeah, I'm
I
sure.
look
I'm
forward
sure
to it.
that'll happen.
Yeah.
So yeah, solid like 10-minute rant there on Fox.
That's
Please,
fine. It's
please
cool.
keep tuning in because they're only going to get worse. I think. I was really trying not to make this podcast about that throughout, like as we do the episodes, but it's unavoidable because I have no outlet. Like if I get a therapist for this, they're just going to think I'm even more insane, bitching,
It's become a
taking up the
segment
whole
on this
hour.
show.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Um, and they have the power to change that. I mean, we have millions of listeners, and they're all being influenced by our Fox rants. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Um.
Listen to the people that listen to the bad race. Wait, I
Yeah.
forgot it.
This
Yeah.
pod. Yeah. Well. Anyways. Now that we're all tripped up from Fox.
Fox fucked me up. That's what that was.
Yeah. Let's talk about F1 for a little bit here before we get going. Lewis obviously winning the sprint race. That was both races. I
Awesome.
feel like were, if we're talking about an entertainment standpoint, they were not super up there. Like if we did a good race ball, but
I do
yeah,
love that track though, man. It's a cool track. I love that turn
yeah,
one and turn that first whole complex of turns. And watching like my favorite part of F1 weekend is probably still qualifying and
oh
like
yeah,
watching how guys took that so differently and how wide and late apexes they did it. It was just so cool to watch all the different guys uh, you know, and how they ran that. I love that track. It is awesome,
yeah.
even though it may not be the most entertaining.
It's fun to drive on the F1 game, for
Yeah.
sure. And then in that kind of turn 1, 2, and 3 complex, Max had a super cool overtake on I believe it was Leclerc there,
Which
like
like
late in
who
the race.
overtakes in that corner?
Yeah, it was cool. He like
Like
crossed him up and then went.
crazy.
He shot into turn 3 like around the outside. It was really cool. He
Yeah.
clearly had the grip there. But this season it was super front limited, so guys were killing the left front, and then it seemed like the dirty air was a huge issue for whatever reason on this track. Even like
Huh.
the long back straightaway, like
Yeah.
that's kind of usually the equalizer because like sector 2 is kind of really heavy on dirty air with a lot of like medium-ish speed corners, and then you get on the backstretch and you get that long slipstream, and you can kind of overcome it. But even still, like the corner that leads onto the backstretch, it was so turbulent that they really couldn't even get a run. But anyways, Lewis wins the sprint. Oscar with a probably the best race of his career so far, I would say, like
Dude,
all together. He wins.
unbelievable.
Yeah, and it was a bummer. Like I would have liked to see Lando kind of go up and try to challenge him for the win, but he had like a brake issue at the end of the race. Like his pedal was going completely to the floor, so he was like 6 or 7 seconds a lap slower in the last 2 laps of the race, and George actually almost caught him. But so that was kind of a bummer we didn't get to see a race to the end. But in any case, I don't know if he would have got around Piastri because um, that was a super good drive by him. Do you have anything else on China? I think the
I think I'd said it before, but like I just keep saying it, man. I really think Piastri is gonna be a problem this year. I think
oh
he's.
yeah
I think I may have been joking last season with some friends when I said that he is the number one driver, but like I'm starting to think that I might be right about that. I think he's really good, and I think he's going to cause a lot of problems for Orlando. I love that McLaren's going to let him race. No one's going to step in and say, oh, we got to let our number one driver have his wins, and they're just
yeah.
going to let him go. And I love that. So I think we're going to see a lot more of Piastri um, throughout the season. I don't think that was his last win by
Oh,
far
definitely
because
not. No.
McLaren clearly has the best car, and as long as Piastri keeps racing the way he did, I think he's going to have a really good season and could even be a contender to win a title. Who knows? Like he's off
Yeah,
to a great start.
and I think they're going to be super strong at this next race in Japan. So it'll really be the Saturday qualifying will be must see TV between those two, because
Yeah.
whoever gets on pole position is going to basically win the race. I think because it's really hard to pass there at Japan. So whoever gets pole is going to lead them into turn one, and that's going to be it. Because um, with them being teammates, even though they are going to race, it's like you're really going to have to risk something to pass
Yeah.
there. But
And then I I think on the topic of dominant cars, I think um that we can go into their last topic here, which is just Red Bull as a whole and all that's going on there. I
yeah,
mean, holy cow.
yeah, that was a bummer, really, for me to watch, like how poor Lawson was. I mean, like, and
Bad,
it's
dude.
just you just feel like you just feel bad, you know. I mean, I don't I'm not
Mhm.
like a huge Liam Lawson fan, but it's like he comes in there and I mean, you want him to do somewhat well. I mean, he's coming into such a high pressure environment and
Yep.
so much expectation as well with how bad kind of Checo did last season, and you just want him to be there or thereabouts with how Checo was performing and just last place in sprint qualifying, last place in the race qualifying, and then Max is up there like he qualified second for the sprint, and I believe it was fourth for the race. So, um, yeah, and then we can kind
Like
of
real quick, how many times have we seen that happen where someone gets in that second seat and like you have like these expectations of these like the thoughts like, oh, it's really cool that like Gasly's gonna get a chance or
yeah,
Alex Albon's gonna get a chance or like Sergio's gonna get a chance at a really good car, and then it just turns out to be a mess. Like the best we saw since Daniel Ricciardo, which like I think the cars evolved a lot more to Max's style than it did back then, where it was a little more, you know, kind of split between the two. So I don't really put Daniel in this category.
yeah,
Um, but like God, man, like you saw guys who were competent drivers, like Gasly and Albon have proven like they're
yeah,
fine where they are now. Like they sent Gasly back to you know to Toro Rosso, and he's done fine ever since then, right? So like
yeah,
I don't know, you just it sucks to see because like you want someone to get in that car and to mix it up. And the closest we saw was Sergio last season. I think he got a couple points within Max, and then all of a sudden that car just started shitting the bed. So it's crazy how that works.
yeah. I mean,
But
Sergio,
yeah,
like
like
in 2021, he was not bad. He won a few races. I mean,
yeah,
um, and like the car just trended more towards Max, and now it seems like it's trended towards nobody. Like even Max doesn't
yeah,
like the
right.
car. So, um,
Well,
yeah,
now we have a
there
new pilot of the second car this week.
we do. Yeah, for the Japanese Grand Prix for his home race, Yuki Tsunoda is going to be trading with Liam Lawson. Which when I saw
I'm
that,
happy for it.
oh yeah, I mean, in my opinion, Yuki should have started the season at Red Bull. I think that
Hmm.
was what should have happened, but obviously Red Bull is Red Bull, so they went with Liam. But it's just such a weird environment there. I feel like because the whole
I
reason they
agree,
went
dude.
the whole reason they went with Liam was like, oh no, we feel like Liam has a higher ceiling than Yuki. But then two races in, they're putting Yuki in. Like
Yeah, but like,
so,
what happens if Yuki goes out and qualifies 20th in this damn car, where he just finished like sixth in a freaking
yeah.
RB? Like, dude, like he's gotten the most out of that RB car like for the past two seasons, like
Oh
easily.
yeah.
He's been one of the most improved drivers on the grid. He's gotten the most out of that car. So, same note of what you're saying that yeah, he probably deserved that spot at the beginning of the season. Um, but like, my thought is like, you know, are they sure that they are by saying that Lawson had a higher ceiling, or are they just afraid that Yuki is a little fast? Right. My theory, right, the theory that the false hope that I'm gonna have is that like maybe Yuki can figure this out. Maybe he's the guy that can do it. I don't know. I think it'd be really cool. I don't think it's gonna happen. Sadly, I hope it doesn't end poorly for him. But like, because like, what do you do? What do you do in that case? What if Yuki starts doing really well? What are you gonna do? Are you gonna bring Gasly back up and put him back in RB? Like, what are we gonna do here? Like, are we
Yeah.
gonna just leave Yuki in struggling the whole rest of the season? Or are we gonna bring Lawson back? Like, they've really created a mess over there in my head, in my
Yeah.
mind.
It's it's definitely a mess. And I think all this could eventually lead to Max like getting out of there. So,
Yeah,
um,
which that'd be interesting. He signed through 2028. I was looking this up today. He signed through 2028. I know he's always had that clause in his contract that people talk about where like
yeah,
he can only get out of there if or he's able to get out if they can't give him a championship winning car.
yeah.
Who knows what the fine print on that is? Like what does it mean
I
that,
mean, I feel
you
like
know, not
F1
having
F1 contracts are kind of barely even worth the paper they're written on in all
yeah,
seriousness. So,
yeah,
um,
it's
like
and
if
also I feel like we know about 10% of the contract.
yeah, definitely.
And that's it. Like we don't know how much these drivers make. We don't know how much like we don't know any of that shit. You got to dig deep just to find any details on contracts. So like
Yeah.
I don't know. It's gonna be interesting.
I mean, I feel like he could either go to Aston Martin with the Honda connection, and obviously Adrian Newey's there now. Maybe this is like Fernando's last year. He could go there. I know there's a rumor about Mercedes, but if he goes to
I doubt
Mercedes,
it.
he would be replacing Russell. And then where would Russell go? That seems unrealistic to me. But
Yeah, they got a good
also,
young talent in Antonelli, and and Russell's been quietly doing pretty well so far to
yeah,
start the season.
definitely.
So like I think like take that off the table. I think your Aston Martin thing is probably the most correct, but is Max really willing to do that and hope that they figure it out and like get him back in winning form like right
Yeah,
away? Like we know F1 that doesn't happen. You don't just make that jump and get right back to winning form right away.
yeah,
Like as an optimistic Lewis fan, obviously I wanted that right away, but I understand that he's not just going to be able to jump to Ferrari and just pick that up right away, right?
yeah,
So, like, I don't know, like, what is it like? Is this gonna come to Max taking a step backwards, or is he just gonna be there while Red Bull takes a step backwards? And then, like, where the hell does Red Bull go? Red Bull went from Sebastian Vettel to Max.
yeah,
Like, where are they gonna go from here? Like, what's your next move? You don't have any young talents in the pipeline that are on the level of Max and Seb. Like, I don't
yeah.
know.
Well, think about this too. I can't remember where I heard this, but like after the Lewis thing happened at the beginning of last season, he was going to Ferrari, and there was a lot of questions over who was going to be the next Mercedes driver, right? There was rumors
Mhm.
Max was going to go there. So say it's Max and George at Mercedes, and
Oh,
Red
they would
Bull,
get along so
and
well. Yeah.
I'm sure, but and Red Bull picks up whoever,
Yeah.
somebody from F2 or something. I don't know, anybody.
Antonelli. Let's make
Sure,
that swap.
Antonelli.
Yeah.
So you have Antonelli and Lawson. Lawson's P20. So if you have, I think we can all agree like Max is carrying that car way beyond where it should be. So
Hmm.
imagine if you have a normal F1 driver, a good driver, but a normal F1 driver, not Max, in that car. Both of them are knocked out in Q1.
Yeah.
And
They're
like
not.
Red
They're
Bull
not
is a
getting.
backmarker team if you don't
Yeah.
have
They
Max.
might not even. They might not even beat RB. Right. They might
Yeah,
not even beat their sister team
yeah,
without Max in there. So
yeah.
yeah, like it's just kind of wild. So
It
I
is.
think it was a good F1 race. We sound like we know what we're talking about over here.
Yeah, exactly. We're a
I
big
like it.
F1 pod over here.
You know.
So yeah, next week we won't have F1 on the docket, but the week
Yeah,
after
they're
that,
2 weeks up. Yeah.
yeah, we'll have Japan. So
Maybe I'll watch an IndyCar race or something. I don't know.
well, if you do, you're probably gonna have a blackout. We didn't even talk about that. The fucking TV stream cut out on the IndyCar race. I had the IndyCar race on my laptop and NASCAR on my TV, and I
Oh
looked
my
over
god.
and the IndyCar race was like frozen, and I'm like, I just assumed it was Fubo because that's what I use for TV. I was like, oh, Fubo's fucking up. So I like refresh the screen and I go back and it's still frozen. I'm like, oh, that's weird. And then I went back and looked at NASCAR and I look over and the F1 race or the IndyCar race is broadcasting the NASCAR race. So I got both on each screen. And I go on Twitter and
No
it's
shit. I
like,
didn't know this happened.
oh, you didn't? Okay, yeah. So I
No.
go on Twitter and they're like, yeah, we're experiencing technical difficulties with a power outage at the Thermal Club. So yeah,
Oh my
for
god.
like we missed like 20 laps of the Thermal Club race, um, because of this, and I wanted it so bad to be Fox's fault, but it seems like it was more the Thermal Club issue, which that race they should not be there for a fucking points race anyway.
I really wish the best for IndyCar because I saw
No,
some
me
ratings
too.
come out
Yeah,
that like I saw some ratings come out that like the race at the Thermal Club on main Fox up against NASCAR pulled like as many viewers. Like the truck race had more viewers, and like
yeah,
the F1 race at 3 in the morning had more viewers.
yeah,
It wasn't a replayed broadcast; it was the 3 a.m. broadcast, and like they were like tied with like bowling.
yeah.
No offense to bowling, but like IndyCar was tied with bowling for like the most like for
Austin Bloom
viewers
just
on the weekend.
unsubscribed to our podcast.
Look, I love bowling. It's sick. I'm really bad at it. All right, but like in the realm of professional sports, I think we
Sure.
could say that like NASCAR, IndyCar in America, probably most people would say a lot higher than bowling, right?
Right. Yeah.
So
No, for
it's kind
sure.
of shout out to bowling. I mean, they pulled 780,000 people to watch that.
Dude,
And that's
some of
pretty
those
cool.
bowling broadcasts, like if they're on before NASCAR, they can get
Oh,
pretty,
it's fucking
pretty
it's
great,
awesome.
pretty awesome.
Yeah, but like the only thing IndyCar beat was like NHRA on the weekend as far as motorsports, and like that sucks. All three of the NASCAR series and an F1 race at 3 in the morning beat it. So it's great racing. It's a great product, is what I'm getting at. Like, I don't want to just. I'm
Yeah,
not
definitely.
dissing IndyCar here. Like, I hope that this Fox move and being on main broadcasts, um, you know, helps them. But like, also, I think you got to kind of realize, like, look, the pool you're pulling from, as far as like racing fans in America, is more than likely watching the Cup race. Don't go up against a Cup race.
Yeah,
Like,
that's the problem.
you know what I mean? Like,
That's the problem
that
because
is a problem for them.
I love watching, an IndyCar race before the NASCAR race. And if it overlaps a little bit, I'll make it work. Like it's 2025, I can pull up two streams. But
Yeah.
when they're on at the same time, I mean even this weekend watching both at the same time, I can't really understand what's going on in each race. Like I'm probably going to focus more on NASCAR, and I feel like most people are probably in that same boat where like NASCAR is probably the number one thing you're watching and you want to watch
Mhm.
IndyCar, but if it's on at the same time, that's just not a great plan. So, I think when Fox
And
did that, they kind of were hoping, since it was on Big Fox, they would get more viewers on IndyCar, and it would kind of be like a slap in the face to NASCAR. That's what it seems like, at least. But at
they
least
get to
this
do that
weekend,
once a year.
yeah,
That's it.
yeah,
They get to slap
definitely,
us in the face once a year.
and they should.
That's about it.
That's a
Uh
great
huh.
race. But
Like, I will say that, like, back to like the product I'm trying, like, that there was a clip that was going around viral. It was a Pillow and someone else, and they were like having this amazing exchange, crossing each other over, passing each other for like, multiple corners at a time. Dude, if that happened in F1, it would be like 3 episodes of Drive to Survive.
yeah,
Like, they would be talking about it for years if that kind of a battle happened. Like, the product is
it's
incredible.
great. Yeah,
It's just I don't know. I don't know how they get. I don't know how they get viewership, and it sucks because, like, I want to watch myself, but like sometimes I don't want to go through the effort of, like, let me bring up my computer to have this stream on. And like you said, I'm
yeah,
trying to pay attention to things. I'm just gonna put the Cup race on TV and I'm gonna lay on my couch and I'm gonna watch it. Like,
yeah,
that's, and I'm a simple human, but I want to, I want the best for them. I want to be able to tune into more. So maybe, going forward, I'll do the best I can. If they're not head to head, I'll tune into some IndyCar races.
yeah. If they're head to head, it just doesn't seem like a
Also,
good
you put an
move.
IndyCar race on Saturday head to head with the Xfinity Series. I'm probably watching IndyCar.
Oh,
Just saying.
really?
Don't go up against the Cup Series. Go up against, you know, try a Saturday. I don't know. You might
Sure.
be able to pull some people. Who knows?
Maybe that's the answer. Maybe we just uncovered it.
Yeah,
Could be.
I'll let them know. I'll text them.
Go, yeah. Well, if they listen
I'll
to,
slide in
if
IndyCar's
if
DMs.
they listened, if Fox listens to you about IndyCar, maybe we can get through them on NASCAR too.
Yeah, if they listen to me on IndyCar, we'll become the number one IndyCar podcast in the country. Solely IndyCar. We won't even talk about our own racing league. We'll just talk about IndyCar.
I'm down.
I'll commit to that if I can get Fox to change.
Yeah. Well, stay tuned for that. I think we've covered everything pretty much.
Yeah, I think it's a good show, dude.
Yeah, that was a good afternoon chat. I feel like I have more energy in the afternoon, so I got a little wound up there when we started
And a
talking
Miller
about
Lite.
Fox.
That helps.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm repping my sponsor from last night. Tried to make him proud.
There you go. Well, yeah, thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed or you didn't enjoy, subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow the podcast, leave a review on Spotify, and yeah, we will talk to you guys next Wednesday.